Welcome back. Today's video explores rifle projectiles and the various barrel options we depend on to accelerate them. Why would we choose a tipped versus flat-nosed bullet? Why a canalure? Why a tangent versus secant ogive? How does a G1 bullet profile differ from a G7? What type of rifling and barrel shape is preferred for a particular use case? The options out there can seem endless and baffling. We hope to clarify them here. Let's start at the top. Bullet tips. The tip is either part of the jacket, an extension of the core, traditionally soft point lead alloys, the shaped end of a monolithic, or a separate added feature. The shape of the tip affects the diameter of its méplat, a French word meaning the flat surface of a cylinder. Pointed tips essentially have no méplat, while flat-nosed tips have the largest diameter méplat. The smaller the diameter of the méplat, the more aerodynamic the bullet generally is, though many companies are designing hollow point méplats to create a small ball of air simulating a tip to improve aerodynamics while maintaining the advantages of a hollow point design. Pointed tip bullets are jacketed or monolithic and are not designed to deform on impact. It's all about penetration with harder metals. Tumbling rather than deformation is the primary factor in wound channel formation. Spire points are an extension of the core but come to a sharper point than other core tips, so they perform better aerodynamically while retaining the benefits of deformation. This was the premier hunting bullet for many years. Hollow point bullets are all about expansion, designed to flower on impact for a larger wound cavity while sacrificing penetration. The hollow point does have a larger méplat than the pointed tip, but the modern addition of polymer tips has aided aerodynamics tremendously. Polymer tips also help initiate expansion, providing a boost to wound channel formation at lower velocities. Multiple polymer-tipped options are available for the hunter shooting past 200 to 300 yards. OTM stands for Open Tip Match and is a variant of hollow point bullet with a smaller méplat, providing better accuracy while sacrificing expansion. When used for hunting, they are more appropriate for varmints and smaller game since expansion is not as reliable. If used for larger game, shot placement must be precise for an ethical kill. Round-nosed bullets present an ideal shape for optimizing feed and function in autoloading and older firearms and offer good penetration. Flat-point bullets, stacking well in tubular magazines without risk of tip-to-primer discharge, are often used in big-bore, heavy-recoil lever guns and offer the added advantage of excellent penetration and tissue damage in dangerous game. Next is the bullet's ogive, another of many French words used when discussing bullets. The French meaning originally referred to the curved, rib-like structure in Gothic architecture. For our purposes, it refers to the curved front portion of the bullet that reduces drag. Flat-point bullets technically do have an ogive, albeit much shorter and blunter than a pointed tip. Two types of ogive commonly used today are tangent and secant, and some bullets combine the two. In a tangent ogive, the curve smoothly connects to the bullet's cylindrical body. In a secant ogive, the curve joins the body at a sharper angle, creating a more pointed shape. While a secant ogive produces less drag, bullets with a tangent ogive tend to be easier to manufacture and provide more consistent seating depths. A hybrid ogive blends the two, starting with a tangent section near the base for easier load tuning, then transitioning to a secant for better aerodynamics. When reloading, measuring CBTO, cartridge base to ogive, produces more consistent results than COL, cartridge overall length, since the ogive is a more reliable reference than the bullet tip. The bullet's BC, or ballistic coefficient, is a measure of its ability to overcome air resistance in flight. The formula for bullet's BC is m/d² times I, where m is mass, d is cross-sectional diameter, and I is the coefficient of form relating to its shape. Since a bullet's shape is critical to this calculation, several drag curve models have been standardized for common bullet types. The most commonly used are G1 and G7, with a bullet's BC specified by the model used. G1 bullets are flat-based with a more rounded ogive. G7 bullets are longer boat tails with a tangent ogive. When using ballistic software, the G7 BC is preferred for modern long-range bullets. As can be seen in the formula, mass being the numerator, the heavier the bullet is, the greater its BC will be. And diameter squared being in the denominator, the wider the bullet is, the smaller its BC will be. So many long-range shooters seek out a smaller diameter but heavy for class bullet to maximize their BC. The diameter of a bullet's middle portion, where its bearing surface contacts the lands, defines its caliber. A longer bearing surface improves alignment and reduces yaw, providing better accuracy. But a longer bearing surface also means more friction, which can increase pressures. A bullet's middle portion is also where you'll find features to aid crimping and reduce bore fouling. Crimping into a cannelure provides a secure grip to maintain seating depth during hard recoil, as is often found in magnum calibers. Grooves allow material to displace as the bullet travels through the bore, reducing fouling and potentially improving accuracy. Internal features like Hornady's interlock ring or Nosler's AccuBond reduce separation of jacket from core, improving weight retention during expansion. Monometal bullets, typically copper, provide excellent weight retention, and since there's no swaging during production, they offer excellent consistency in dimensions and concentricity. However, because they're lighter than cup and core bullets, they have a lower BC for the same length and profile. They also generally require a higher twist rate. Finally, the base of the bullet can be flat or tapered, i.e. a boat tail. Flat-based bullets tend to stabilize more quickly, so are used for accuracy at short ranges, below 200 yards, and may seal better in worn barrels. Boat tails take longer to stabilize than flat-based bullets, but perform better at longer distances due to reduced drag and a flatter trajectory. Since the boat tail shape allows a small amount of gas to escape past the bullet before it seals the bore, there is some concern for faster throat erosion. A final note on bullets. We've seen people turn rabid over which bullet brand and style they prefer. Always test them for yourself, on your bench, in your rifle, for your use case. We can't stress enough that what works best in someone else's hands isn't necessarily what will work best in yours. As we transition from bullets to barrels, we have to talk about twist rate. A barrel's twist rate is the distance it takes for the spiral rifling to make one full rotation. The shorter the distance, the faster the bullet spins, so a 1 in 7 is faster than a 1 in 10. The twist rate needed to gyroscopically stabilize a bullet is primarily determined by its length and weight. Longer bullets are more prone to yaw than shorter ones, needing a faster twist rate to stabilize them. Heavier bullets are more resistant to changes in their inertia than lighter ones, needing a faster twist rate to get them spinning. A gain twist rate, starting slow and ending fast, is used in some muzzleloading rifles and occasionally cartridge firearms. There's a calculation called stability factor to indicate whether a bullet is adequately stabilized by a given twist rate. The higher the factor, the more stable the bullet's trajectory, up to a point. A stability factor less than 1 is considered unstable. The bullet may tumble or keyhole and has poor accuracy. Stability factor of between 1 and 1.49 is marginally stable. It may shoot accurately, but won't perform optimally. A stability factor greater than 1.5 is recommended for optimal stability and performance. A stability factor of greater than 2 represents excessive spin that may cause the bullet to lose integrity or even break apart. And finally, the barrel. Rifling options, length and contour considerations, and finishing touches. The difference between the diameters of the circles inscribed by the tops of the lands and the bottoms of the grooves is the groove depth. This is usually between 5 and 10 thousandths of an inch, with lead bullets requiring greater groove depths than jacketed ones. How many lands and grooves? Typically 4, 6, or 8, but some barrel manufacturers use as many as 20 or more. An even number means a land is opposite a land and a groove is opposite a groove. Odd numbers are preferred by many target shooters, as a land being opposite a groove can reduce deformation of thin-jacketed match bullets. And what shapes are the corners of the lands and grooves? Conventional rifling uses sharp edges on all corners of lands and grooves, but other shapes are becoming more commonplace. In ratchet rifling, also called canted land rifling, the driving side of the land is sharp while the trailing side slopes gently into the groove. This is thought to reduce pressure on the bullet jacket, retaining its shape for a more true flight, and reduce fouling accumulation for easier cleaning. In 5R rifling, all the edges are rounded. It offers similar benefits to the ratchet style and is more readily available. There are many ways to create rifling in a barrel: cut, button, broach, cold hammer forged, and electrochemical machining. Cut rifling is an older method using a hook-shaped cutter pulled through the barrel, requiring multiple passes. While slow, it allowed for a lot of adjustability. Button rifling is the most common nowadays, using a carbide swage that's either pushed or pulled once through the barrel. This cold-forming method work hardens the barrel and provides a smooth finish to the bore, but does require stress-relieving operations after swaging. Broach rifling uses a metal bar with progressively longer cutting blades, each cutting slightly deeper than the last, also requiring just one pass. One advantage over button rifling is the lack of stress added to the metal, but tooling costs tend to be high and the finish is not as smooth. Cold hammer forging uses a mandrel inside the bore to serve as the rifling template, while a machine hammers against it from the outside. Another cold forming method, its advantage over button rifling is a smoother finish that doesn't require lapping. ECM, electrochemical machining, works via anodic dissolution to produce a hyper-accurate and smooth rifling. It's much less common, though, due to high production costs, potential corrosion issues, and the limitation to only conductive materials. Barrel length and contour options are so plentiful it's often bewildering, especially when planning a custom rebuild. Heavier barrels, either due to length or contour, have less recoil but are more cumbersome to carry. Longer barrels generally produce higher velocities, but are less maneuverable in heavy brush and woods. Straighter, thicker barrels, the bull and varmint contours, have more metal to absorb and dissipate heat, improving accuracy during longer runs of firing, but are heavy. Tapered, thinner barrels, for example sporter and pencil contours, heat up and cool down more quickly, so require more breaks between strings of shots, but are easier to carry. Other tapered options like the Palma contour with its relatively long shank and slow taper strive for a balance between rigidity and weight. Fluting is another way to reduce barrel weight while retaining rigidity, and the extra surface area can help with barrel cooling. The last method of balancing rigidity and weight is the use of carbon fiber to replace the outer thickness of a metal barrel along some portion of its length. But it's important to find a reliable manufacturer, as not all brands offer the same level of rigidity. And claims of faster barrel cooling with carbon fiber should be taken with a bag of salt. Carbon fiber is an insulator, so while the outside may feel cool, the inside can be warmer longer than an all-steel barrel. Speaking of steel, the higher-end barrel makers are usually using 4140 chromoly carbon steel, or 416 or 416R stainless steel. Chromoly is harder and more durable than stainless steel, but is not as resistant to corrosion. 416 and 416R both offer excellent machinability, but the proprietary 416R steel offers more reliability at sub-zero temperatures. What's at the end of all that metal? A crown that needs to be machined just as well as the rest of the barrel. Flat crowns create a uniform release of gases as the bullet exits the bore, so are favored in high-accuracy applications like competition shooting. Recessed crowns offer excellent protection from damage, so are ideal for field-use rifles at the expense of some accuracy. And several options between the two, including the standard rounded crown and the 11-degree crown, offer a balance between accuracy and protection. Whichever barrel you choose, you might consider taking a bore scope with you on shopping expeditions. We learned the hard way early on that barrels from supposedly high-end manufacturers don't always meet their promises. If we had taken a bore scope with us, we would have seen the indicators of poor rifling practices before purchasing. A well-machined barrel is an absolute pleasure to shoot and clean. Take the time to make sure you get a good one. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and follow so you'll be notified when we take a deeper dive into these topics in the future. And as always, thank you for watching.